Kev, good to see you again, my man. We spoke in April. I feel like right in the middle of this pandemic. How have you been surviving since then?
I've been good. Like we had talked about back in April, it's just, finding ways to make a bigger impact and, just continuing to stay current and continue to evolve.
Yeah, man, you're my hero. You do so much in the mental health space. You don't just talk the talk, you walk the walk. You're doing this great thing for UCLA. We'll get into here in a second. But you're right, the timing is just so crazy. My anxiety's been through the roof, just trying to figure out not just my family life, but also how I feel and fit in this sort of, society right now. It's just been a lot of self-reflection, a lot of, real soul searching, and it causes some anxiety. So I love that you're just always at the forefront of these conversations, because that's what it is. Like even just checking in with you now or in April. I mean, I love just kind of seeing you, and that's what people need to do for each other. It's just those check-ins are so important, especially now.
No, it really is. There's always, kind of that person that either gets your foot in the door or, helps you in a major way. And for me, it was DeMar DeRozan. That's why everything that's transpired over the last really 2.5 years, he's been a really important piece of all this. So I never overlook that. If not for him, I likely wouldn't be sitting here talking about all of this today. And then, like with yourself, continuing to pay it forward. I mean, it's like I've known Carson Daly, but now I feel like I know you in a much bigger way because you've shared your story and just continue to pay it forward. I mean, I always say, like, if I could just help that one person and continue to walk that walk, I feel like it's going to continue to just be a snowball effect, and everybody's going to continue to talk about it, especially when we want to beat down that stigma.
Yeah, and you've done that. I mean, like when I read the Players Tribune article that you wrote, and you talked about that panic attack that you had, it felt so good for me, like who's had so many, to finally realize that like somebody else, even sort of in the public eye, like I wasn't alone. I've been on stage at The Voice doing live shows with people looking at me like, oh, that guy's got a perfect life. Look at him on stage in prime time. And inside, I'm gripping my hands in my pocket. I'm holding on to my flesh because I'm so freaking scared. I was running hot that night. And it's just so nice to know I'm not alone in all of that. And again, man, you're just awesome for creating all this conversation. And it's given me the wherewithal to also, have conversations with, could be my neighbors or my peer group or people that I run into. It's like being in Fight Club, man. Now, after all this talk about mental health, people stop me in the airport. I'm like, I've been on TV every day since like 1996 on MTV. And more people come up to me today and just want to talk about anxiety than anything else I've ever done, which is great.
No, it's unbelievable. It's the same way I feel. And it's really amazing. More than anything in my career, this is what people have kind of latched onto and come up to me most, because, I mean, how many times have we said it together? It's like, whether it be your first person or somebody within arm's distance, like people relate to that because they've seen either themselves or felt themselves going through it, or seen it in somebody else in their family or in their close-knit friend group. So it's just really important that we continue to have these conversations. And I'm like, the same thing with, social injustice, or even, COVID-19, seeing how we're treating it and what we're going to do. There's so much to be learned about all of this, and we have to change for the better. But I think it's going to trend in a positive way. And I didn't used to be optimistic like that, but I actually feel like there's a lot of good that's going to come out of this time.
Yeah, I agree. So let's break it down. I'm from LA. I went to John Wooden basketball camp. I wanted to become a Bruin myself. Didn't quite have the grades. You went there for a year, averaged 16 and 11 before he went on to the NBA. But what was your life like being a Bruin?
Being a Bruin was amazing. I've actually been jumping on some Zoom calls with that team from 2007, 2008. And even though I was only there a year, I established connections that I wouldn't otherwise have had. So that year that I was there, I mean, it's lifelong friends.
Who was on that team?
So we had, I was roommates with Russell Westbrook, which is pretty incredible. And Luka Mbamute, he's the Prince of Yaoundé, Cameroon, which I always thought was super cool. And then Darren Collison as well, who for 10 years was an amazing point guard in the league. A guy that I became very close to, even when I was 16, 17 years old, getting recruited, got to be really close to him. So just, a group of character guys that, kind of all had that North Star and wanted the same similar things out of life. And that's why I believe that we'll always have those connections and be lifelong friends.
You've done something so cool. You've committed $500,000. UCLA's matched you 500. That's $1 million investment going to the faculty there to help work, to diagnose, to prevent, to destigmatize, to treat anxiety and depression. Why was that so important for you?
Well, I thought it was also really cool to give back to my alma mater as well. But their psych department, and working with Dr. Michelle Krask, who's an absolute rock star, absolute superstar, just opened my eyes that, we can make a long-standing, real impact and help with people long-term. So you mentioned like talking the talk, walking the walk. It's not just things that we want to put a Band-Aid on and say, okay, now we're finished. We want things with legs. We want to work with people that have been doing this a long time. We want to strategically see where we can make the most impact, and then continue to work with a broader scale of people. And I think there's so many, like we've worked with Stanford, we worked with Harvard, we worked with many different universities that in this space, they are doing excellent work. This is probably the coolest thing that we've done so far. It just so happens I get to work with UCLA again.
Yeah, right. When you started your fund a couple of years ago, did you always kind of have a plan to work your alma mater back into it?
Somehow, some way. I mean, in the health and wellness space, I know it's broad, but even going back to Russell for a second, like he at the Mo Austin basketball center, there's men's and women's basketball in there, but Russell donated the money for the courts, and then I donated the money from the weight room. So like we have our two guys that room together. We're able to give back and have had great successful careers. So that is really cool. But working with UCLA just outside the scope of athletics or basketball, that makes me feel a sense of evolution in my personal journey, but also it just gives back in such a major way, and just can, like I mentioned, snowball or domino effect, help so many people, not just athletics. So that to me makes it really special, and just, seeing where research and tools and all this education piece, really fits into the broader picture. So looking back and kind of getting into it now with my fund, it was, strategic partnerships and just learning the first couple of years, but now it's truly figuring out, kind of the lane that we want to stay in, and then it will continue to, I guess, grow. And that's what the exciting part about it all is.
We hear a lot about sports and athletes being transcendent, right? You always sort of want to be labeled that, right? Like LeBron, like or Jordan, the greats, they transcend the game. Right. And really, you're transcendent, like now, with all this effort, just in the last couple of years that you're doing in the mental wellness and health space. Did you ever think that would happen?
I didn't. And to be sitting here today and even, talking about it and empathizing with and telling our own stories with somebody like you, it's first of all a great way to offset any anxiety or depression as well, and to feel that you're not alone.
Facts. People got to realize that just talking, you feel better.
And just say, oh wow, like a person that has, for me, like been around for so long. You mentioned 1996 and worked on the stage where millions of people are watching every week, and like to say you feel the same way, and it makes you feel more comfortable in your own skin. So that too has allowed me to know that I'm a part of, something bigger. And I listened to a Muhammad Ali quote. I was watching a HBO documentary on him. He said, boxing was just a way to introduce me to the crowd. Obviously that's a really, really elite company. And when you speak about him and what he did for social injustice and, moving civil rights forward, and I think the boxing, what was his main thing, just opened him up to so many different avenues in order to affect people. So he's like, for so many people, been such an inspiration, and it's a really, really cool way to, kind of merge what I'm doing basketball wise in this, because now I feel like I mentioned all the time, like outside of, doing what you do every day, you find a purpose that's, not only bigger than your sport, but bigger than yourself.
Right. That's so awesome. I mean, I can't even believe I haven't congratulated you on the ESPY, the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. I mean, that's an amazing thing.
When I first shared my own personal story about mental health, I did not expect the incredible response that I received from my peers, from the league, and from sports fans all over the world. When I think about those I am joining as an Ashe Award recipient, humbled does not even begin to describe the feeling.
Tell me what that felt like. It's an incredible honor, but it's a lofty one too, Kev. It's weighty. There's probably a high and a low about even getting that award because it means there's a need.
Yeah, they had surprised me with the announcement, so it just kind of like stopped me in my tracks. It was literally on Zoom, and just even hearing the words come out of their mouth, Arthur Ashe, I'm thinking about like, oh wow, this is such a prestigious honor, and I haven't even really absorbed it yet. But it's like, you mentioned Muhammad Ali won it. Bill Russell, I believe, won it last year. Billie Jean King, and so on and so forth. It's incredible to even be mentioned in that light. And I think the best thing that could come from the award for me is just that it brings this conversation of mental health to the forefront, and it's bigger than me. I don't feel like I'm getting an award. I feel like it's you, it's other people that have opened up and talked about it, because this is going to be a really polarizing, scary issue moving forward for many different reasons, because it's not just a one size fits all model where we say, okay, this is how we're going to diagnose or we're going to treat this suffering. And I think that's where all of this thing, all that accumulation of everything is really going to help the masses. And that's the biggest thing. It's getting creative and finding different ways and trying different things that are going to really make that positive change.
Yeah, but now one of the best psych departments in the country at UCLA is going to be able to do that to the tune of $1 million. We can get off this interview right now, but as soon as we hang up and people turn off the Today Show, there's going to be some of the best, most brilliant minds in Westwood, California, all over this topic, thanks to you.
Yeah, so we're working. I mean, it's going to continue to hopefully trend in the right direction in the work that we're doing. It's always strength in numbers, and in this, it's inspiring hope, and it's pay it forward. But it's so true. If you can just help that next person, you just don't know what's gonna come from that. And if it wasn't for continued support and that feeling of community, I wouldn't be sitting here today talking about this.
What do you think people can do who are watching this, who are empathetic to mental health? What do you think they can do to help us destigmatize this thing? What are some simple things people can do?
Just continue to speak about it, especially, and I feel like the education piece is huge, and early diagnosis and early intervention as well, because I do believe that the numbers show it's a young people disease, and so many kids, I think it's 1 in 7 are diagnosed with a mental health disorder, but only half go treated. I think I mentioned this last time. This is something I always think about, is a mental health disorder, whether it's bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety disorder, depression. Like 50% are diagnosed by the age of 14 and 75% by the age of 24. So that's a younger demographic. Wow. And if there's not that intervention early on, you're already going to be so far down the line. It was like with me, just peeling back layers, seeing where all this came from, seeing how, I'm able to treat it and work through cognitive behavioral therapy, and get my medication right, talk to the right people, know who are my allies in all of this. So just continuing to educate people, I think will allow, and speak about it, will allow for more, empathy, and people will be more willing to work with you in this space.
I think it's also good for people. Just check on your neighbors. Yeah. Check on, the lonely guy down the street. Maybe he's older, maybe he's not. Maybe you see a teenage kid who's always walking by your house and they're alone. Open your door one day. Say, hey, what's your name? How are you? Those little check-ins the average person can do. We all see those people. And you and I were both one of them. People know our faces, but we both suffered in silence. Yeah. People didn't know about it. And there's a lot of that going on. And the average person can really, I think, make a difference by smiling at somebody, maybe doing something nice. It seems kind of corny, but I think those little moments mean a lot.
It works. And, loneliness can have, long-term effects on your health as well, both physical and mental. So I think exactly checking in, whether it be here on Zoom, whether it be FaceTimes, whether it just be a text. And my grandma, she used to do handwritten letters all the time. Even like taking the time just to do that, I think just that little hit of happiness and knowing that somebody's there for you can be incredibly beneficial. Absolutely.
Couple quick topics, I'll let you go. I think recently you told the New York Times you have like these rituals that you do before games and stuff to kind of help with your anxiety. What are some of those?
For me, I actually have a playlist called Airplane Mode. And it's no words. It's all just really soothing sounds. It's not like going to the spa and listening to that. It's actually great, really calming instrumentals. It's almost like a meditation type period. And the same thing with my body, like just giving everything to my body, because that's my job at this point. I'm still chasing the main thing. So a lot of stretching, reminding myself in the morning, just like what I'm even grateful for. Like, again, that even sounds a little corny in itself, but it's such a great exercise to take a step back and, look at yourself from like a chip shot and just say, okay, there's so many good things surrounding me. There's so many good things in my life. But also, honestly, for me, it's been stepping away from the 24/7 news cycles as well. Whether it be, going for a walk. Thankfully, I have a dog. She gets me outside. I leave the phone back. So I'm away from that, even if it's positive news, but it's just an accumulation. You're just taking so much in that you need to, I've been looking at my analytics now on my phone that gets me every week. And it's like, if I can get that percentage of screen time down, it's a win for me. So I think that's a great way to offset, especially the anxiety as well. Because if something pings on your phone, through this time, you're almost thinking, okay, what now? Get away from it. Have specific times where you check your mail or check your email, check your texts. If you have a designated time to call some people, everybody knows, you have deadlines, you have things that you need to hit. There's certain markers throughout the week, but with some good routine and some good scheduling, you can help maneuver that a little bit.
How about basketball? Are you missing it? Are you excited to get back to it? Where are you at headwise with that?
Yeah, as a player, it's tough, being in the bottom 8 teams, because we didn't end up in the bubble. But as a fan and as a player, just miss the game. I have a father that played. It's way back. He put the ball in my hands. So it's been for me really tough to step away. And as a fan and as someone who just loves basketball, it's really tough being away from the game.
I interviewed Steph Curry during the pandemic, and he said something similar. He said, I just missed the game a lot. He goes, and I went out in my backyard and I realized I don't have a hoop. And I was like, Steph, you don't have a hoop? He's like, yeah. So I literally went down to the Big Five and he bought himself a basketball hoop just so he could shoot hoops in his own. I just thought that was crazy.
No, you have a hoop? It's funny. And 2-time MVP, unanimous MVP, one of the best players of all time. And
he has no hoop, Kev.
That's when you love the game so much. We actually had a couple guys. It's funny. He's been in the league. Steph has 10 plus years, but we have guys in their first, even rookie to 5 years in the league that did the same thing. They went to a sporting goods store, had the mask on, went in there, got the hoop, filled it up with water at the bottom so it didn't move, and then they just put it in their front or backyard. Yeah, it's like they just miss the game that much that they're willing to do anything just to roll the ball out.
That was crazy, man. That was like Martha Stewart not having a lawn or a garden. I just didn't think it would be possible.
Kitchen appliances, yeah.
Listen, man, congrats on all the hard work off the basketball court. Continued success. UCLA is very, very lucky to have you as an alumnus. So good to talk to you, buddy. Stay safe.
Likewise. Thanks, Carson. Appreciate it.